everyone. Our topic for today is all about theories and definition of intersubjectivity. Intersubjectivity is the exchange of thoughts and emotions, both conscious and unconscious, between two individuals facilitated by empathy. It was first coined by the philosopher Edmund Husserl. To understand intersubjectivity, it is important to first define subjectivity, which refers to an individual's perception or experience of reality from their own perspective, limited by their own worldview. So, yun, makakakuha tayo ng konting hint about intersubjectivity. Alamin naman natin kung ano ang definition nito.
Now let's know what is the definition of intersubjectivity. So as human beings, we are indeed social in nature, and we are bound to relate to other people. Intersubjectivity, it refers about the shared meanings developed by people through social encounters. Intersubjectivity is the philosophical concept of the interaction between the self and the other. It is the mutual recognition of each other as persons. Also, it refers to the shared awareness and understanding among persons. It is made possible by the awareness of the self and the other. Ang magandang example para mas lalong maintindihan nyo ang intersubjectivity ay, kunwari, yung tatay mo ay isang basketball player, sabay lagi kanyang sinasama sa mga laro niya. So paglaki mo, nag-decide ka na pumasok din sa mga leagues ng basketball. Kasi nga na-impluwensyahan ka nga nung bata ka pa about sa basketball. Kaya nagustuhan mo din yung laro. So, pag yung tatay mo, sa simula pa lang ay di naglalaro ng basketball, for sure, di mo rin ito magugustuhan. So, yung experience mo sa basketball, ayun yung tinatawag nating intersubjectivity. Kasi intersubjective means na it was influenced by another person. So, para lalo nating maintindihan yung intersubjectivity, kailangan muna natin i-define yung ibig sabihin ng subject, pati yung object. Yung subject, ito yung person na nakakapag-experience ng action or ng event. Then yung object, ito yung na-experience ng subject. Gaya ng example sa una, yung basketball. Ngayon, alamin natin kung ano ang ibig sabihin ng subjective. Pag sinabi natin ng isang bagay ay objective, ito ay more on facts. Then pag sinabi natin ng isang bagay ay subjective, ito ay more on opinions o kaya mga bias na pananaw. So in literature, subjectivity means that the story is told from a biased viewpoint. So ibig sabihin nun ay yung kwento ay nanggagaling sa isang bias na pananaw. Ang example nito ay, kunwari, may dalawang tao, sina John at Jane, nag-uusap sila tungkol sa concert na kanilang pinuntahan. Nagustuhan ni John ang concert dahil fan siya ng banda, habang si Jane iniisip na okay lang dahil hindi naman siya gaanong kapamilyar sa kanilang musika. Ang kanilang magkaibang mga opinion ay ang nagsasalamin sa kanilang mga pansariling pananaw. So intersubjectivity means that we all are influenced and are influenced by others to some degree.
Hello, I am Timothy Polito, and I will be explaining how the theory of communication action works. So let's get started. So Jürgen Habermas is a known German sociologist, right? That is a philosopher from the 20th century that founded the book of Communication and Evolution of Society, right? So seen here, right? The Communication and Evolution of Society. So once founded that book, so we can see in the part of the book University Pragmatics, he identifies and reconstructs the universal conditions of possible understanding by this research, right? And how does this come to play? How does this, synchronize with communication action? Well, it's simple. As he studied the conditions of how to communicate properly, how to be pragmatic properly, right? He identified four tests in order to pass. You need to pass, so you can, know and understand the universal conditions of possible understanding. So also these in quotes is the meaning for me personally and the whole team. We think that this is the best meaning for this theory, the best like general explanation. So what is communication action, right? So now that we know the meaning, right, what does it do? So further do rather. So communication action introduces people to a new path, right? So using this new understanding, we can lead to a new, better way of understanding people, right? The truths and lies are aligned, and we know what to judge right or wrong. Though Habermas is indeed correct in saying that communication is important, right? It's important to to say what you think about a person, or maybe God, or just in nature in general, but it doesn't, emphasize the relationship between one another. You can communicate, but just communication is not enough. You need to also understand the internal parts of the relationship and how does it work and etc. So yeah, so we also realize how indispensable, right? What I'm saying earlier, indispensable, how important the presence of other. Now this other is gonna be talked about in another theory, in another book that from another author, but we're gonna go on that later on, as we're gonna talk about from the next reporter, the four tests by Sir Nidwilan. Sir Nidwilan, excuse me. That's all.
Comprehensibility. Comprehensibility is pertained to the use of ordinary language. If the language meaning of a word or a statement is defined by the ordinary language in which both speaker and hearer are familiar with, then for sure, understanding will be achieved, especially if the ordinary language is the native language of both speaker and hearer. Truth. Truth is referred to how true the uttered statement in reference to objective fact. If customer asks a waiter for a glass of water, the request will surely be understood and it will be granted. Truthfulness. Truthfulness is pertained to the genuine intention of the speaker, which is essential for the hearer gaining trust. Sincerity in relationship is an important aspect in achieving mutual understanding, and it is assessed by considering the congruent of the express meaning and the speaker agenda. Rightness. Rightness pertain to the acceptable tone and pitch of voice and expressions. Filipinos and generally and are intimidated and irritated, and even threatened when someone talk with a high pitch or a loud voice, as in a shouting manners.
So now that we have talked about the Jürgen Haberman's theory of communication action, now we proceed to the next, the second theory, the second part of the what part of relationships, how does it come to be? And this is Martin Buber's I, though relationship. Now, Martin Buber is a Jewish philosopher, right? Famously known for his philosopher writings, which is the ik do, that is the proper pronunciation of the I and thou, the ik do or ik and do. So ik do is a philosophical theory, right, that is made by Martin Buber regarding the ethical principle on human relationship anchored on the dignity of the human person. So what does it mean, right? It's very self-explanatory, right? The ethical principle, the proper way to express the dignity of a human person, right? When we want to communicate what you want to communicate with another person, right? You want to, of course, be ethical, right? Be moral about it, as that is the mission of a human person. So the major theme of the book is that authentic human existences manifest in genuine dialogue, either with each other, with the world, and even with God. So how does this correlate with the relationships, right? So I thought we were just talking about person to person, correct, half correct. What I'm saying. So there's two modes, right? So we can see here. Wait, let me just go to my tab. The book explored the psychology of individual man, right? The psychology, how does man work, the relationship of every man work between two distinct relationships, namely, ik it, and the ik do. So ik it means so I'm just gonna make a simple explanation. Mainly these two are one. The former is from just with the world, right? I think if I'm correctly saying this, so either one of the two is from the world, right? How you communicate with nature, from other existences that are not human or with sentience, I'd say. So the next one is ikdu from the other mode, which just states personal relationship. That's the other mode. So that's about it from the ikdu relationship by Martin Buber. Thank you.
The mode of I-it, also called experience. Through experience, man or the I collects data of the world and analyzes it. There is no relationship occurring between the I and the it. The I acts as an observer and the it as a receiver of the I's observation. The it is only viewed as a thing to be utilized or known. Since there is no relationship occurring in experience, the I lacks authentic experience due to lack of social growth or development, only gaining knowledge about the subject. So according to Buber, unless the I meets the other I, that is, another subject of experience, a relationship is never established.
I relationship in which people make themselves the center of their world. They are uninterested in and unresponsive to what others are sharing. Conversing to other people do not interest them, and if they do, the conversation will always revolve around them. This is a more close-minded sort of connection since they only engage in conversation to brag about themselves or persuade others that their opinions are superiors and should therefore be accepted. I-thou relationship, which Buber calls encounter. Both the I and the other enter into a genuine relationship. The I treats the person as a thou or you. For Buber, it is made possible by love, because in love, subject treat other as equal. You do not treat other people as object. You treat them sincerely as a person. Love is an I-thou relation in which both subjects share a sense of caring, respect, commitment, and responsibility. I-thou could also bring an absolute relation, an encounter with an absolute thou, God. In the I-thou relation between the individual and God, there is a unity of being in which the individual can always find God. In this relationship, there is no barrier of other relationships separating the person from God. Allowing the person to communicate with God directly, one must have faith to encounter Him. When that encounter with the eternal Thou occurs, then we came to see every other being as a Thou. If the individual has a real I-thou relation with the God, the individual have a real I-thou relation with the world, for his I-thou relation with God forms the foundation of the relationship with the rest of the world. When we say I-thou, this is characterized by the authentic dialogue. Authentic dialogue is a form of interpersonal communication which occurs when people recognize that they are part of a greater whole and can relate with others within the whole. In some cases, nonverbal dialogical relations are not only the more appropriate means of conversation, but considered as the more profound form of conversation. For instance, we hug someone when we truly care about and love them. It is also considered as authentic dialogue. Remember that when Buber discusses dialogue, he emphasizes the need of listening, sensitivity, and silence. He also points out that dialogue need not always involve verbal exchange. Either relationship is the experience of being true in a conversation in communion with other. The other may not be necessarily human being. It could be your cat, a tree, or God. Either relationship is a privileged form of relationship. This relationship involves effort. It entails open-mindedness, inclusiveness, deep listening, empathy, respect, and mutual trust. Being in a dialogical relationship with someone does not mean that everything they say or vice versa must be acknowledged. There will also be disagreements and different ideas and opinions will be valid. The argument, however, is to try to understand others. Genuine dialogue calls for genuine listening.
Emmanuel Levinas was a Lithuanian French philosopher known for his contribution to phenomenology, ethics, and Jewish thought. He was a student of the philosophers Edmund Husserl and Martin Heidegger, and his work often engages with their ideas while also offering a unique perspective on issues of ethics and responsibility. Levinas is perhaps best known for his concept of the face of the other. What is the face of the other? According to Levinas, the face of the other is not just a physical face, but also includes the other person's voice, gestures, and expressions. It is a presence that interrupts our usual way of relating to the world, which is dominated by our own desires and concerns, and demands that we take responsibility for the other persons and their needs. Levinas believed that encountering the face of the other is an ethical phenomenon that exists prior to any other knowledge or understanding we may have about the other person. It cannot it represents an infinite obligation that we have to the other person, an obligation that cannot be reduced to any specific rules or principles. The concept of the face of the other is important because it emphasizes the ethical dimension of human existence and the importance of our relationship with others. Here are a few reasons of why it is significant. 1. Responsibility. The face of the other represents an infinite obligation that calls upon us to recognize and respond to the other person's needs and desires. This responsibility is not just a moral obligation, but a fundamental part of our humanity. Ethics. Levinas believed that ethics is not just a matter of following rules or principles, but is grounded in our encounters with the face of the other. Social justice. The concept of the face of the other has important implications for social justice and human rights. It reminds us that we have responsibility to those who are marginalized, oppressed, or suffering, and that our ethical obligations extend beyond our immediate relationship.
Magic of genuine communication. Being able to communicate authentically allows you to create two-way conversation with your audience where they will understand what you are saying and respect what your opinion is. Explore who we are. Explore who we are is also learning what ourselves is. Ito ay kasan inaalam natin kung ano bang iniisip natin o nararamdaman. Create more intimate relationship. Creating more intimate relationship is also about communication with people to the point na sobrang komportable na kayo sa isa't isa and you can also open up with each other. Become better leaders. Become better leaders is in communicating with people but also know that you should be clear and easy to understand para makagawa kayo ng tamang decisions but that's how a leader should be. Get what you want. Let other people know what you want. Maging straight to the point ka, hindi yung magpapaligoy-ligoy ka pa at magugulo mo ang isipan ng iba. Ito rin ay makakatulong upang mas malinaw ang usapan sa pagitan mo at ng kausap mo. Have more success. Communicating in this part is very important because you can use it to have more success in terms of communicating with people wherein they can help you to have your success which they call career success.
Dangal greetings everyone, I am Charis Eliza M. Nataya and I will discuss practicing genuine communication. We can all improve our communication skills with some practice. According to Brian Tracy, communication is a skill that you can learn. It's like riding a bicycle or typing. If you are willing to work at it, you can rapidly improve the quality of every part of your life. Instead of jumping into uncomfortable or difficult conversations, it is better to start with easy ones rather than that. For example, communicate more honestly with yourself by writing in a journal. Make sure to have time to write in your journal. Whether once a day, once a week, or once a month, it doesn't matter. It can help you figure out what you are feeling about a specific person or something that is bothering or inspiring you. Because as you write down your thoughts honestly and with a slight judgment, it can help with self-discovery. Talk to a tree or to a pet, like a dog. It is crucial to have someone listening to us, even though that someone is someone who doesn't have a life. Talking to pets is a way of showing love. According to science, talking to your pets is crucial to your mental and physical health. Write a letter to someone you care about. According to research, writing letters to your loved ones to express your feelings and express your gratitude will help you feel better and more fulfilled. Aside from that, it also strengthens friendships and family bonds. And also, it is not necessary to send that letter. And lastly, practice listening. A good listener is someone who pays attention to the speaker in order to accurately receive and comprehend messages. Nobody wants to talk to someone who is just interested in what they have to say. As a result, in order to be a good communicator, you must be a good listener.